Hi everyone, my name is Nick, I live in France, and look, I'm 43 years old now, and that number, man, it's been sitting on my chest like a stone lately. You see, there's this thing that happens when you reach the exact same age your father was when he died. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. My dad was 43 when he passed. I was only 17. And for most of my life, he was this older man, like a finished person. Someone who had it all figured out. But now that I'm standing right here, right where he was, I start to realize, God, 43 is so young. I look at my own kids and I think about everything he still had left to do, everything he didn't get to see. It makes me feel like I'm walking on ice that could crack at any second. I've been thinking about him constantly, especially about this one afternoon, that 18th of July, 2001. So, my dad, he was a house painter by trade, spent his days up on ladders, covered in white dust, painting the outside of buildings in the heat. But his real passion, that was baking. I mean, if he wasn't holding a paintbrush, he was in the kitchen with a rolling pin, making dough from scratch. Now, in France, we have this tradition called galette des rois, the king's cake. It's this beautiful golden puff pastry filled with almond cream. Rich, buttery, it's incredible. And technically, you're only supposed to eat it in January for the Epiphany. It's a winter thing, basically. But my dad didn't care about that. He loved this cake so much that he made up his own rule. We'd have it twice a year. Once in January, like everyone else, and then again on his birthday, July 18th. So every summer, mid-of 12, there's my dad in the kitchen baking this heavy winter cake. And it became our thing, our family tradition. It was his way of celebrating himself, He died of cancer in October of 2000. It was 4 years of fighting, 4 years of thinking maybe he'd beat it, and then he didn't. That's what cancer does. When July came around the next year, the house felt so strange. It was his first birthday without him. And my mom, she decided we couldn't just let it pass in silence. We had to do something. We had to keep him alive somehow. So she said she'd make the cake herself. She spent all morning in that kitchen, following his recipe to the letter, folding the dough over and over, making the almond filling exactly how he liked it. But she didn't bake it yet, because my dad always said the cake is only good when it's hot, fresh out of the oven, or it's not worth the calories. So in the afternoon, my mom finally put it in. We all gathered in the kitchen. Me, my mom, my brother, my sister, and we weren't sitting there in silence or anything. We were actually talking, sharing memories of him, laughing about how he'd always get flour on his nose, talking about how much he would have loved being there with us. And the smell started filling the room, that smell of toasted almonds and butter. And for just a second, it felt like he was in the next room, like he'd walk in any minute. The cake had maybe a minute or two left. We were just leaning around the kitchen, talking, remembering him, waiting for the timer to go off. And then, I can't explain it. Something happened to me. I can't even call it a thought. It wasn't like I decided to do it. It was more like this physical thing that just came up from my gut and out of my mouth. I didn't think about it. I just opened my mouth and screamed at the top of my lungs, "Telephone!" And the second, I mean the absolute instant, that word left my lips, the phone rang. Now, you have to understand, This was 2001, and so no smartphones around. We had one landline in the hallway with a long cord, and right then, everyone in the kitchen just froze. They looked at me like I'd lost my mind. My heart was pounding. I didn't know why I'd yelled it. I hadn't heard anything. There was no sound, no light, nothing. I just knew. My mom walked into the hall and picked up the phone. She brought it back into the kitchen and put it on speaker so we could all hear. "Hello?" she said. Nothing. Just this faint static. It wasn't like a dead line. It was like someone was there. The connection was open, but whoever it was, they were just breathing or waiting. I don't know. We were all sitting there around that phone. It felt like forever. Probably a minute, maybe more. Nobody said a word. We were all sitting there around that phone, listening to that empty sound, while the smell of the cake kept getting stronger and stronger. I was staring at the oven, watching that mechanical timer tick down. And finally, it reached the end. The oven bell rang out, and the exact instant that bell sounded, the phone clicked. The line went dead. Whoever it was hung up the very second the cake was done. None of us could move. We were in shock. My sister started crying, and my mom, she looked at the phone, then at the oven, and she had this look on her face. Suddenly she started crying, not from fear, but like she understood something the rest of us were still trying to figure out. You know, that was years ago now, but I can't shake it. I've never been able to shake it. The thing that gets me isn't even just the timing. It's the how. How could I have known? Why I yelled that? Today, I'm a carpenter. I spend my days working with wood, making things fit together. I look for logic. I look for structure. But there's no logic for what happened that day. There just isn't. I've tried telling myself it was a telemarketer, a wrong number. But who stays on the line for a full minute of silence and who hangs up the exact second an oven timer goes off? It felt like he was checking in on us. It felt like he was saying, I'm here. I'm here for my cake. You can start the party now.